What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Kinda Funny Gamescast. I am Tim Gettys, joined by the Final Fantasy VII Remake review crew themselves, Greg Miller.
Hello.
Andy Cortez.
Good morning.
Adeoye Jr. And the former informer, Imran Khan. What's up, Greg?
Just a full stop. Andy just said good morning. It's 3:30 in the afternoon, Andy. All right, I understand working from home.
He has good excuses, though, right? Andy, what's your excuse?
Oh my God, guys! I've had a roller coaster of the last 36 hours. I thought this was going to be on Thursday. Tuesday hits and Tuesday hits and I'm like, all right, guys, I can play Valorant all day Tuesday. Wednesday, I have a full day to finish Final Fantasy VII.
Sure.
I finished playing Valorant close to midnight, around 11:45 last night. And I look at the calendar and it says Wednesday is the Final Fantasy Spoilercast. And I in my mind I go, well, today's Monday, right? That's fine.
God damn it.
Like, I just tried to, and then I realized, oh my God, I am fucked. I'm in chapter like 14 right now, dude. What do I do? So I played from midnight until like 8 in the morning. And I got to a point where I remember in the text thread what you all were saying, how much time was left.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to chapter 18 at around 8 in the morning. I was like, I'm going to try to sleep for maybe 3 hours and I'll wake up and beat the final shit. And we did it, baby.
Hey,
baby, let's go, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Kinda Funny Gamescast each and every week right here on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. We get together to talk about video games, all the things that we love about them. You can watch the show live, usually when we record it, when there's not embargo type situations, by going to patreon.com/kindafunnygames, just like our Patreon producers, Muhammad, Al Tribesman, James Hastings, Sancho West, Cody Banks, Trent Berry, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, Joseph O. Yusuf, and Scott Radloff did. If you don't want to do that, that's cool. You can watch it later on youtube.com/kindafunnygames, roosterteeth.com, or you can listen to it on your favorite podcast service. Just search for Kinda Funny Gamescast. Today, we are brought to you by Hims, but we'll tell you about that later because right now, I want to get into it. Final Fantasy VII Remake Spoilercast. Full spoilers from here on out. What's up, Greg?
Before you get in there, do you want a full spoiler why we all look like potatoes?
Oh, Discord. There's too many people using Discord right now. So the quality of us is all dropping and stuff. But we want to make sure we got all 5 of us on this. So we're going to take that little quality and video hit so that we can all get, our voices heard.
And the good news is I know it doesn't matter because I'm the one locally recording this. So I look fucking sterling HD. Like I look so good. I look good on your end too, Andy?
Because I'm looking at the feed right here, right? Yeah. Like the actual feed that's going out. You look great. Imran looks fantastic. Me, Blessing, and Tim look just like we put a mosaic filter on us. We look terrible.
I don't know we look like Final Fantasy VII character models. The rest of you look like Final Fantasy VII textures.
Yeah.
There you go.
We look like NPCs that you talk to during the side quest. And y'all look like Cloud.
Man. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. So here's the thing. It's full spoiler mode now. All of us have beaten the game. I'm proud of you, Andy. You did it minutes before the due date, but you fucking did it.
Doesn't matter.
I kind of want to start there because I know that we all, the moment we beat it, we're freaking out and we're able to kind of like have conversations with each other. You haven't had that yet. This is that conversation.
This is that conversation. Well, first off, I do want to say this. During our review, I hopped on the show, and by that point, all of you had already beaten it during the full review, and I was maybe 60% of the way through. And I was not as glowing about this game as you all were. I at that point I was like, this game is really cool and awesome, but I still don't really see why everybody's like, this is like top JRPG. And then like an hour later into continuing that gameplay, I was crying multiple times. My heart was just like fucking killing me. And then Cloud holds Tifa, like, Jesus, dude. I was like, this is incredible, dude.
That's one of 3 scenes, by the way.
This game is fucking incredible.
Wait, what do you mean it's one of 3 scenes?
That can be either Cloud, Aerith, or I guess Barrett. I haven't seen the 3rd scene yet.
Oh wait, what?
What's because that's the thing. I don't know what he's talking about when he says Cloud hugging Tifa.
The scene before you go get Aerith in the Shinra building, and you go out to the flower garden, and there's somebody standing there at night. It is either Aerith, a imagination version, or something.
That's what I had.
I had Aerith as well.
Or it's Tifa and she's crying and you're trying to like console her. Or there's the 3rd one I haven't seen yet, which is I assume Barrett, but
You hug Barrett.
I had Tifa, and he's standing there, and Tifa is like bawling her eyes out, and she's just like she's
It's
losing
an emotional scene. Yeah,
it's so emotional, and then the hug where like just Cloud opening up like that.
Fuck, I wish I got that scene.
I was tears in my eyes, like I was like, this is incredible, dude. But yeah, I beat the game, and I a lot like Greg and Bless. I'm like, all right, there's some confusion here, but still, I think this is incredible. Like the cutscenes, the way everything leads up, the hype, it was so relentless in. It was so relentless in what they were trying to do cinematic wise, but they just kept on introducing new and impressive enemies, and I think that's where I'm really ultimately super impressed by this game is like the last 5 hours of the game, there's so much variety in bosses, and like I just expected. I guess I get to a point near the end of a game, I'm like, all right, where do we see them phoning it in? Are they gonna rush this? Is this gonna be like kind of phoned in? And a cool boss after cool boss, awesome interaction, awesome fight mechanics. Like it was so good, dude. This game is so great.
The end of this game, I totally agree with you. Just
You're
from like a
choking up,
gameplay, yeah, exactly. From a gameplay standpoint of like the bosses and the end game type stuff, it's like it really does have a nice pace of just ratcheting it up and being fun and entertaining. But from a fan perspective, like the entire game has great moments and like nods to things. But once you get to the Shinra building, I feel like that's for me when I was just like, oh my God, this game is way more than I could have ever asked for. Because Imran, you can attest to this. Like the love and care that they gave into the original Final Fantasy VII story in the Shinra building, but then expanding on it. The whole thing about Neo Midgar. Neo Midgar is one line in the original game. It gets mentioned like, oh, we're going to build Neo Midgar, and that's it. You kind of just have to put things together in your head. The way this game did the whole museum of bringing you through the Shinra, introducing you to the elements, doing that whole crazy planetarium thing of showing what Neo Midgar can be.
Did you catch the Final Fantasy X reference in that museum, by the way?
With fucking the Shinra guy?
Yeah.
I read up, I saw a picture of this, but like, so for you guys, there's a long running like Easter egg that in Final Fantasy X-2, there's a character named Shinra. And it's like, oh, is this tying it to the Final Fantasy VII universe? Because as we know, Final Fantasy games aren't tied to each other. So that would be unlike anything we've seen before. And the directors and producers of the game are always super James Gunn about it, where it's always just like, well, there's Easter eggs that aren't confirmed, and maybe this, maybe that. And in other interviews, they're like, oh, totally. And then in other interviews, they're like, not at all. You know, so it's like, who really cares? But in this remake, that character is in some museum. Yeah.
Oh.
And then like right after that, they show like that movie of this is what we think the ancients were like. And it's like, that's Final Fantasy X's world.
Yeah.
Oh
totally.
shit!
This is not. It's not exact. It's not like.
But it's close
exactly
enough.
It's
like
close enough,
it looks like all the spirit stuff. Man.
It's what
like,
an interpretation would be if you like what we think dinosaurs' worlds were like. We don't know.
Exactly.
Were they talking?
Exactly.
Were they wearing clothes? The jury's still out.
I think they wore khakis, Greg.
Sure. Flannels.
And then Imran, we in Shinra when we see the Shinra guards and stuff, and then one of them is Cloud's boy, Kunsel, right?
Kunsel. He was Zack's best friend.
In Crisis Core. It's just like there's these little things that totally don't matter. They didn't interrupt your enjoyment of it, not understanding it.
Oh,
but
no,
like,
not at
to
all.
me, I was just like, this is so fucking cool. But yeah, it just expands everything so well. And getting towards the end, it like when you get into the final boss fights and the final moments and all the Sephiroth stuff, it's like, holy crap! Like they're not only giving us the highlights of the end of the original Final Fantasy VII game, they're also giving us the highlights of the end of Advent Children and the end. It's like kind of all the best, most hype moments just delivered back to back to back. And when you're finally defeating Sephiroth and there's the cutscene of the whole team together one by one doing their fucking shit to take down the Whispers as Cloud's running through, I'm like, let's fucking go.
It's incredible, dude. I was just like blown away, like in many moments, just goosebumps, tears in my eyes, and I totally get why you all were so high on it during that review. Like, I liked it at that point of where I was, but I hadn't hit Jesse dying. I hadn't hit fucking Biggs and like
dying,
I
but not
hit
dying.
any of that stuff on the climb up. You know, I wasn't there yet, and dude, I texted Tim. I was like, bro, like what? This is crazy.
Yeah.
Dude. Like
That was the part where I messaged you guys. Like it was the chapter where Jesse dies, and you go on and you reach the top of the tower and you fight the helicopter and all that stuff. At the end of that chapter, that's when I texted you guys like, "Yo, this game is wild." Because like that was the turning point for me where I was like, I went from being like, this game is pretty excellent to me being like, oh no, this game did something. This game worked.
Yeah.
Like me feeling for Jesse, me like being so sad when Jesse died in the tower, and me like sitting there being like, no, don't do this to me, don't do
fucking
this.
do
Like,
this to me, man.
It's definitely like
yeah,
a
they
double,
pulled it
like,
off.
double tragedy too, because Jesse's parents lived above the plate, so they would have died too.
Oh
So
fuck.
both of her entire family is wiped out in that one moment, basically.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good point, dude.
oh,
And
way
then-
to really fuck me up even harder.
but that's the thing is like
Not
this
her
game-
bedridden dad.
We were saying this in the review, but like they made Biggs and Jesse like characters that like we legit really give a fuck about.
Yeah.
And like Jesse was definitely my favorite of all of them. And her dying, like as the moment was happening, I was kind of like, this isn't hitting me right. Like this isn't like it. I know that I'm supposed to be feeling something right now, but I'm kind of not. But the moment they do the pounded thing, I was like, I'm legit tearing up now. Like there was a real tear on my face. These fuckers got me. And even with Biggs, like him going out, like I played the original game. I knew what was happening. So when we saw him die, I was like, I know we're floors away from Jesse dying. Like I don't fucking want to deal with this.
Dude,
But
it
at the
hit
end
me
of the
because
game,
like I was gonna say, it hit me because I didn't see that coming. Like I didn't know that happened.
I
in
thought
the
they were gonna get
original
off
game.
fine. Yeah, I thought they were not gonna. I didn't think they were gonna die.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I was like, oh, surely like these characters will live because they introduced these characters. These characters have awesome moments, and even as I've been replaying parts of the game, like being reintroduced to Jesse and having those moments with her again, I'm like, man, this character is so awesome. And so when you finally hit that moment, for me as somebody who didn't play the original Final Fantasy VII, and you're like holding her in your arms, I'm like, certainly this isn't how it's going. And yeah, that's how it went. And I was like, Jesus.
That was actually the moment I started having suspicions about like, okay, these ghost things are not just a flourish. They're trying to do something with this, because they were, when Jesse was like throwing that final bomb against the plane that seemingly killed her, it was like, why are they just standing there watching? What's the point of this? Why are they just standing over Biggs? Because Biggs and Jesse had died in the original game, so I knew it was coming. But why would they make a point to show that? Then it started getting a little bit more overt. And tell me, Tim, are we talking about Final Fantasy VII spoilers in general, or just the remake stuff, or just Midgar?
I want to, Andy. What's your question?
So these goddamn whispered things weren't even in the original?
Okay, so
That's where we need to start. Is some people are
That's
watching this who
where
have
we-
never
yeah.
fucking played any of this, like me, and me and Jen immediately called Tim, and we're like, "What the fuck just happened?"
here's what I want to do is from here on out, it is full spoilers for the entire Final Fantasy VII world. For the compilation Final Fantasy VII, the original Final Fantasy VII, and for Remake, from here on out, everything's fair game. If you don't want to listen to it, you were listening to the wrong video right now. Imran, I feel like you are the utmost authority here on when it comes to the
Dork.
the story of all this stuff and how it all kind of relates to everything. Can you explain the ending of this and reference anything you need to from the other games?
Okay, so throughout the game, there are those whispers that show up, and it does seem like they're trying to, kind of keep things on track for Final Fantasy VII, like the way that remake originally, or that first game originally went. But it starts getting more overt as time goes on, and there's that part where Hojo just says to Cloud, because Hojo would know, you weren't a soldier, and then it gets taken away by the whispers, and like that at that point, it's like, oh, this is obvious now. They're trying to keep Cloud from knowing. And then Red 13 just outright says, yeah, they're trying to keep Fate on track. As the game ends, and as it appears that they killed Wedge or made sure Wedge died, because he did die in the original, there is a moment where Aerith goes, yeah, Fate is trying to keep us on a certain track. I think we can stop it. Then you go into a portal that seems to be a parallel universe, or different Midgar, essentially, that Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, and Barrett managed to defeat Fate and then fight Sephiroth. It's not super clear at the time why Sephiroth is there, but everyone starts getting visions of, like, for example, a black-haired soldier named Zack trying to fight soldiers and saying, like, oh, the price of freedom is too high or something like that. Then they get reverberations once Fate is dead. It's like, wait, did Zack survive? Which he's not supposed to do, because that was the end of Crisis Core. The interpretation I got from that ending was that Sephiroth has either traveled back in time or come to a parallel universe to enact his actual plan, and you guys just stopped fate. So now you can't. Now he can actually win. So it's no longer It's basically the title is not Remake Part 1 for that reason. It's because it's not a remake of Final Fantasy VII. It's a remake of the timeline. It's literally Final Fantasy VII : Remake.
So pretty much anytime the Whispers are there, they're trying to stop you from changing the original course of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
So Whispers weren't in Final Fantasy VII, period.
Not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, not at all. So when you defeat Fate at the end or whatever, things are changing and stuff. So Zack, the black-haired dude that you see that looks like Cloud that has
I was like, who's this guy?
What's
What's going on here?
So this is now spoilers for the original Final Fantasy VII.
Okay, let me take. Hold on.
You clown, I love
he
him.
is originally revealed pretty late game, like mid game, Final Fantasy VII. It's revealed that Cloud's memories of being a soldier, first class, and all that stuff. He thinks that he is Zack. His memories are Zack's memories, and he is like
little
tripping
liquid
out.
solid stuff going on here.
Kind of. It's kind of like that. He never himself actually hit soldier status.
Yes.
So that's why Hojo, the scientist, knows that, because he's like, no, you're not a fucking soldier.
Oh,
like,
see, I was waiting for the line of, "You're not a soldier, you're the solger." And I was like, oh fuck, he's like the main
Predator handshake. Like, go get him.
They also do some good lines towards it. Like Aerith, for example, Aerith was Zack's girlfriend. Like back in Crisis Core, and that's his backstory. When you first meet Aerith, the reason she likes Cloud is because he's wearing Zack's clothes. He has Zack's sword. She's reminded of Zack,
and all that shit.
and she asks him at one point, like, "Hey, do you know any other soldiers?" He's just like, "No, I don't know any. They're not my friends or anything like that." Because she wants to know about Zack. That's her whole. They kind of get romantically linked because she thinks about Zack more than she thinks about Cloud.
Yeah.
There's a line. So I was just playing actually this scene where it's Cloud and Aerith, and they're in the playground, and they're about to go to not Wall Garden, or is it Wall Garden?
Wall Market.
Wall Market. Yeah, no. They're about to go to Wall Market or whatever, and they're talking, and I believe it's Aerith who asks Cloud. Or no, is it Cloud who asks Aerith? Somehow the topic of "you look like somebody who I used to love," or "you look like the first guy I used to love" came up,
Zack.
and Cloud's like, "Can you tell me? Do you know their name? I might know them." And as Aerith is saying it, Cloud gets the headache thing, and it's blocked out. Does that also have to do with timeline stuff, or is that just a completely different thing?
No, he was pretty messed up. So basically, Cloud and Zack fought Sephiroth at one point, and didn't lose. They theoretically killed Sephiroth, but they got captured, and they got experimented on together.
So in the original, in Final Fantasy VII, there's the reveal and kind of flashbacks that happen of Nibelheim, which is the town that Cloud grew up in, where Cloud he's left that place. He's trying to become a soldier. He wants to be a war hero like Sephiroth, who's kind of this known dude. He's super famous for being a badass. And so Cloud and these young boys are like, I want to be like Sephiroth. That's what I want to do. So they all try to be soldiers. Cloud doesn't hit the ranks or whatever, can't do it. But Zack does. Zack and Sephiroth get sent on a mission to go to Nibelheim for some stuff. Cloud goes with them just as kind of a Shinra grunt, like one of the random dudes with the machine gun that you see in the game the whole entire time. Then when they get there, there's a Mako reactor or whatever, and Sephiroth starts going crazy, and it's all the Genova stuff, and he's like mother reunion, all this weird fucking shit. And Zack and Cloud kind of team up to take him down because they see that he's going crazy. That's when Sephiroth burns the city down, the town down. That iconic shot of Sephiroth turning away with the flames. He's burning down Cloud's hometown.
Got it. Okay.
And so as they're realizing oh fuck, this guy's crazy, they push him down into a Mako reactor, but Cloud gets Mako poisoned because there's too much. You know how in the remake they keep talking about how
his eyes,
the eyes and all that stuff, and it's just it's too much. And it's kind of like Metal Gear Solid 4, where eventually it's gonna fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay.
It's that type of thing. So it starts poisoning him and fucking him up. So Zack takes Cloud, who's kind of super fucked up, and that's why he has all these weird amnesia things of thinking he's Zack. It's because he's poisoned and fucked up in the head. And his last memories are Zack saving him. So Zack takes Cloud
That's
and
the
is like
final.
is literally like taking him like through a whole bunch of different places. They get in a truck, they like go super far, and they end up outside of Midgar. And then this is all in Crisis Core, which is the PSP game that kind of like Crisis Core essentially is the flashback of the Final Fantasy VII original game expanded into an entire thing. And it ends with thousands of Shinra soldiers around Zack ready to take him down. And they all start shooting him, and he's just like fucking them all up. But it's like, you know, it's super epic, like anime stuff where it's like he's taking him down, but he's getting bloodied, he's getting all fucked up. And it ends with him dying. Like he gets shot, he's bloody. Cloud comes up to him, and Zack gives him the Buster Sword and says, "You're my living legacy. I need you to go." And so the game ends with Zack dying, Cloud taking the Buster Sword to Midgar, and that starts the original game. So that starts even the remake when he gets on the train and the avalanche stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, in this remake, what we're seeing is when we see Zack get up and he's like, "Oh, that's all of them."
Yeah.
It's showing that it's a parallel universe where he doesn't die; he kills them all.
Yeah, the branches, Greg.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
branches
The
have
timeline
split.
branches. But so
Yeah.
then it's you say it's a parallel universe. You're saying the one that we're playing is a parallel universe overall,
Maybe.
or this is okay? Because then they do
It
the thing where they
seems like-
ghost walk past each other, and I was like, I think I understand that now it's different. But did they know? Does Cloud know that Zack's alive, and where does that?
Okay. So now is the time for me to talk about anime.
I love you guys so
we want to
fucking
talk
much.
about
Let's hear it, baby.
we want to talk about Rebuild of Evangelion. Which
Andy,
is
make a
recent
shirt
thing.
right now. Now is the time for me to talk about anime.
So a couple of years ago, Hideaki Anno made Evangelion, Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's a fairly famous like kind of mindfucky series about giant robots and religion and all that stuff. They never really completed it the way they wanted to, and Hideaki Anno always said he didn't like the fact that they couldn't finish it correctly. So they made an ending movie, but then they started making new movies that they said like, well, this is going to be a remake. We have new animation techniques, we have new voices, we have like a better sense to like put it in theaters and stuff like that. So they make a first movie that is almost exactly the same as the original series.
Uh-huh.
Then they make a second movie that at the end starts diverting a little bit. Then they make a third movie that's like really fucking off the rails. And I think like that is what kind of influenced this game.
Totally.
Going, okay, everyone's expecting us to just make a 5.7 remake, and to an extent, that's cool, but it's also a little boring. So why don't we just go off the fucking rails ourselves? And that last final chapter is them going, yeah, we're not beholden to this anymore.
Okay.
We're making our own Final Fantasy game.
Cool
right now.
shit.
Yeah,
Because like the final line of it is the whole
the untold journey.
the
or
unknown
something
journey
like
will continue, and it's just
Yeah.
like, let's fucking go. Because
damn.
Greg, I'm with you. Where them walking past each other, that was just parallel universes of like what could. Like I don't think that was a literal thing. I think that was just more like showing it for the audience. But what doesn't make sense to me, and Imran, we were talking about this a little bit, is after watching this, I went back on YouTube and watched the ending of Crisis Core and like a bunch of shit just because like I was like, I'm so fucking into this. But what doesn't add up to me is the timeline of what they show Zack doing here. Where Zack is, he fights off the final guys, he survives with the Buster Sword, he gets up, and then he sees the explosion caused by our crew in Remake fighting the Fate or
Yeah.
whatever, right? That
Yeah.
timeline just totally doesn't add up because
It's real confusing.
like that, it just doesn't make sense.
Is it possible that that's the universe this Sephiroth is from?
I don't.
Yeah, but like Sephiroth at this point has nothing to do with like what I'm saying of like because the problem is Zack at that moment is
this
on
is
the way
years
to
before
the
that or whatever.
beginning of Remake. It's days before it,
Oh, days.
Oh, my apologies. Okay.
right? So that's like that would be
No,
like
because they were captured in Nibelheim for what, 3 years?
uh-huh.
Tifa, by the beginning of Final Fantasy VII, has been in Midgar for 5 years, and she was part of the original Nibelheim event.
Yeah.
So it would have been
Mm.
still another. I think Cloud took some time to like recover in Midgar, and then started mercenary work. But still, the timeline doesn't really. I
mean,
think.
it's- yeah,
I think it was just like a
exactly.
thematic parallel. It wasn't necessarily like this is happening at the exact same time kind of thing. Because when he does look at Midgar, it's not the normal Midgar. It's a different looking Midgar.
Well,
But
it's
there's also-
by the fate, right?
I think so. So there's a part where they show the Zack thing, and like they take a bag of chips flies by, and it's like just a very incidental image, but they stop in on the logo of the chips. Otherwise, that is completely not notable. Except the chips has stamp on it. The dog they refer to multiple times in the game.
The Avalanche thing, right?
No, it's Shinra thing. But in the,
Avalanche was using it as to reverse the propaganda so that nose was pointing where to go.
In the Zack flashback, the picture of Stamp is a Yorkshire Terrier. In the FF7 remake, every time you see Stamp, he's a beagle.
I fucking love you, Imran.
Isn't that great
awesome.
though? Yeah, like that's why they showed up and to show this is things are similar, but they're different. Like this is a different world.
So it could have been a different time when he came there.
Okay,
interesting.
Okay.
I just like that's still. It just seems off to me because it's like that's the rest of the game kind of like played out as if they're parallel timelines that are all happening at the same time. But that is just like those incidents just weren't at the same moment.
Right.
So it's like if they didn't show the explosion, I'd be like, okay, cool.
If this is a time-traveled Sephiroth, he doesn't necessarily have to be from this world. But this Sephiroth, based on what he was saying to Cloud at the end, he's like, you have 7 seconds to breathe or something like that.
So cool.
But like that,
like I don't even know what it means.
Yeah, I had no idea what the fuck that meant.
But it seems like he knows what's up. He knows what's going to happen. But even the ultra powerful Sephiroth from the original Final Fantasy VII, throughout most of that game, should not know what's going to happen until they actually happen. He doesn't have like future powers, so it's still a question of like, is this a Sephiroth who's already been through all this stuff and already knows that Cloud is going to beat him, and thus he has to lure Cloud and the rest of them to defeat Fate for him?
Interesting.
Because now he has a chance. Because now it's basically unwritten. So
with
he
Fate,
can do whatever
with
he
Fate
wants.
dead, he has sort of a blank canvas to do whatever he wants.
This is his only chance at winning. Yeah.
Yeah. I when we are in that final battle against Sephiroth, and then Aerith pops up and is like, "I'm here to help" or whatever. I'm like, "Oh fuck, she's gonna die!" Like right, she's gonna die very
I was
very
thinking the
soon.
same thing.
I just thought she would like. I thought this would end with her dying.
Because that's the only spoiler I know about Final Fantasy VII.
Me
is
too.
that at
Like
some
the
point,
most
like,
famous
Aerith
video game death
dies.
of all time.
Yeah, and so I was like, maybe she does in this game, in this moment. But yeah.
Because it's such
didn't.
a Darth Vader, like I am your father thing. Where again, I never played Final Fantasy VII, but I know that Aerith dies. And I know the girl in the red dress dies at one point. You know?
Yeah, that's when like Barrett was killed. I was like, what the fuck?
No,
That's
me
not
too.
supposed to happen.
Yeah, so Barrett does not die in the original, and you can tell because the Whisperers bring him back.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, like, that means that Sephiroth is fucking with. That was the moment where it's like, oh, it's Sephiroth and the Whisperers, they're not on the same side.
Yeah.
Because if he's doing a thing that they're immediately fixing, then he's trying to test how far he can push it too.
That's so cool.
Imran, this is some nerdy ass shit, but so Advent Children, right, takes place after Final Fantasy VII.
Yes.
And even there, that gets a little bit weird and dicey because, so for you guys that haven't played the original, Final Fantasy VII ends with Meteor hitting the planet and like fucking things up. And then there's like, it literally just says 500 years later. And it's descendants of Red 13 kind of just running.
No, it's actually Red 13.
Oh, is it?
No, he lives a long time. You can see the tattoo on his.
That is actually him. Oh, well.
Yeah, okay.
Either way, there's multiple of those animals running, and then they run up to a cliff, and they're overlooking Midgar, and like it's like overrun with like grass, and it looks super Last of Us.
Nature's taking it back.
And
Yeah, so like I didn't interpret the ending the same way. Like I don't think Meteor hit. I think Lifestream stopped it, but Lifestream just kind of took the planet back after that point.
Yeah. So then, in the original game, though, it's kind of like left, and then credits roll, and like that's it. That's the final scene you see. So in this game, when you're fighting off the Fate thing, and it's shooting all those like lights through the people, and then like there's like visions that they're getting. That was one of the visions, and that's when Barrett's like, what the fuck was that? And Red's like, that's what happens if we don't win today. So it's like pretty much saying like the end of the original game is not what we want.
Got it.
So Tetsuya Nomura directed this game. I think there's been between this and Kingdom Hearts, it's pretty obvious he kind of hates working at Square Enix now. Because like Kingdom Hearts is essentially at this point a weird like ransom message from him about how pissed off he is about Final Fantasy Versus 13. Because like Tim can tell you, the ending of Kingdom Hearts now is just Final Fantasy Versus 13. Like it's literally just infecting that game.
Yeah, so Kingdom Hearts literally did something similar to this, where it ended with a huge fucking twist that's like, wait, what? which
spoil it for me?
essentially
Just spoil it.
yeah, but so spoiling it there is like Kingdom Hearts, and now Kingdom Hearts spoilers, everybody. But Kingdom Hearts 3 ends and it has a secret ending, and usually Kingdom Hearts games have a secret ending that are like really hinting or directly telling you what the future of the franchise is going to be about. It's kind of like MCU post credit thing.
Sure.
And this one is you face off against a character. Okay. In Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, Tim, we're prepared for the bullshit.
No,
Like,
trust
what
me,
is Kingdom
it's
Hearts
not
3?
bullshit. This is pretty easy to understand. It's just
Okay.
funny how many levels it goes. So in Kingdom Hearts, they go to the Disney worlds, right? In the Toy Story world that they go to a toy store. In the Toy Story world of the game, there's video games.
Of course.
It's a popular video game, and all the toys that they're fighting are based off this video game. I forget the name of it, Imran.
Yeah, I forgot too. I just remember the main character's name.
It doesn't fucking matter. It's Final Fantasy versus 13.
Yes.
Like, that is what the game is. It's called something else, but the Rex from Toy Story is obsessed with this fucking game, and he thinks that Sora is the main character from that game because guess what? They look similar because that's what Kingdom Hearts does. But then at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3's DLC that just came out, the final boss fight, the secret boss fight, is against this video game character, which is like
the Noctis, basically what Noctis became
yes.
from 15. Okay.
And if
Exactly.
you lose, they just show the trailer from Versus 13 with him as in the place.
Wow,
So, like,
that's really weird.
So there's that, and then there's this game where if you look at it just like on paper, a bunch of old ghosts are trying to remake Final Fantasy VII exactly as it used to be, and the heroes bravely stop them. Like, it's
Wait, that's
like,
awesome.
That's
When you
such,
say it that way.
like thematically, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's very clear that Nomura has some problems working at Square Enix now, but I'm in for it. I'm waiting for this wild bullshit ride at this point. Because like,
Me
I
too,
think
man.
I think they're gonna hit all the major
Varum Rex,
stuff.
that's the video game?
Yeah, Verum Rex.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And
That's great. I think that's so awesome because I'm excited for you guys too. Like, you know, like I don't know shit about this franchise or this game or whatever, but I think that if it were just sort of paint by numbers, this is Final Fantasy VII done again, just prettier. Obviously they added a bunch of shit in between or whatever, but I think that's super exciting for just Final Fantasy fans, unless people will feel wronged by that. Who
people
knows? The
feel
internet.
wronged. Like, yeah, it's the internet. This is going to be one of the most divisive things to ever happen in games.
I mean, you mentioned
And-
Metal Gear Solid 2. Like, this reminds me of that. The reaction of like people freaking out and clutching their head and be like, "This is not what I wanted." But
Yeah.
like
Got it.
when I experienced it, I was clutching my head too, but in like a holy shit.
yeah, me too.
I love it when like really beloved things are like poked and prodded and experimented with, and this is like exactly that kind of bullshit.
And I love it too because it's like I do feel like there's gonna be people upset about the weird, crazy Kingdom Heartsification of this, but in my opinion, it's the good Kingdom Hearts stuff, not the bad stuff that at least so far has kind of been in this. But even if you don't like it, like I feel like the three of you guys can all attest to this. Like, sure, the last hour or whatever confused you a little bit, but it didn't stop the rest of the game from making sense. And
No,
I mean,
not at all.
It confused me, but it also intrigued me to the point
Me
of
too.
getting off and wanting to
Good.
call Tim, getting off and wanting to look
Oh,
at
yeah.
Wikipedia, having this conversation. And the reason I'm looking over it is because I have the Crisis Core review pulled up and Sephiroth's wiki page, and it puts it into a place that I am interested for, not only for the reactions and the conversations, but then what the next game is. You know what I mean?
It's the same way I feel with Metal Gear Solid. Like, sure, it's not turning me off at all. I'm
Yeah.
not like, oh, this is fucking dumb, like confusing stuff. No, it's like super good. Like the way everything is presented in this game, towards the end of it, is just incredible.
Not to mention, if you, for somebody on the outside like us, it's a leg up, right? Because if it was the exact same game and now it's going to be 2 to 3 to 4 to 7 years or whatever while they work on the next part, you guys are like, well, I already know what happened, so whatever. I'm more.
Yeah.
It's cooler that we're all on the same page now.
Oh, totally. And I think that something that's cool about that is obviously what I'm about to say is in no reality a possibility. But if this was just the game and there was no Final Fantasy VII before it, it would end. And I don't think people would be like, the fuck, that end sucked. It'd be like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm very intrigued.
Sure.
Well,
you know.
that's
I-
why.
Wait, hold on. Bless has got something to say. He's been trying to get off his
Go for it,
4-poster bed for a long time.
yeah, no, I've just been kind of I'm on both sides of it. Of like when I first finished the game, I was like, all right, the last few chapters kind of lost me, but it wasn't until I talked to you guys. Like I talked to Imran and Tim, and you guys explained it to where I was like, okay, no, that sounds really, really, really cool. I'm really into that. But at first, I was like, because the game is so straightforward for 95% of it, and it makes sense in the theme, like thematically, it makes sense. I understand the motivations, all this stuff. But the more and more Sephiroth kind of got involved in things, the more and more I got fascinated into like who his character is. But by the time it ended, I was just like, all right, I know there's gonna be another game, but like, what the fuck was that? Like, what just happened?
Yeah, I thought
like,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, say like, and knowing the future, it like knowing the context that everything is working in now, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm looking forward to what the next few games are gonna be, but it's still one of those things where, coming from the outside looking in, and this being my first Final Fantasy VII game, I feel like I'm kind of missing out on quite a bit now, not having played the original games. Where originally coming to the game, I was like, oh sweet, Final Fantasy VII, I'm gonna be able to experience this for the first time freshly. As opposed to now.
You have Imran's hotline where you can just call him whenever and be like, all right, what's changed here? Like,
no, honestly though, I do feel like that is kind of it wasn't the point of this remake at the end of the day to be the same experience again for you to experience it the first time. But the thing there is like I
kind
feel
of sell it as that though.
I know, but that's a different conversation. I'm talking about like
They actually hinted a little bit in the past. Like there was a point where someone asked him, "Hey, would you release the old games like Crisis Core and Dirge Service and all that stuff?" And he gave an answer that now makes a lot more sense. Of him saying, "Yeah, that wouldn't make any sense now. It's not the same game." And nobody picked up on that.
And that's the thing for me, Bless, that I'm trying to say. Where like I just feel that it's enhanced to us because we do know all these weird fucking things about it. But it's like I almost feel like it isn't a good thing to go out and play Crisis Core now. Like I don't think that you need to do that. Like sure, maybe watch a clip of it or something, just to, like, to get the like for the feels and shit. But that's just more kind of like extra credit homework if you want to know everything. Yeah. Like I feel like this game did a very intentional job of telling you and showing you what and how it wanted to show you. Like showing Zack was supposed to be a who the fuck is this guy moment, you know? And I just think that they knew that the context of this was going to be for people that have played every single Final Fantasy VII thing that ever existed and people that never have before. And I think that they're going to get reactions out of both of those groups in a way that was the intention. Is that going to make everyone happy? Absolutely not. No, already people are fucking pissed about this shit, which I don't understand. This is cool as fuck.
I think that, you boiled it down the best way, and I agree with you, even though I'm completely on the outside, but I was on the other one too, stick with me, is that this is the JJ Star Trek thing, right? Where it's like, if you know the history of Star Trek, then you understand why you get more out of this. But if you don't, like I didn't when I watched that Star Trek, I was like, oh, I get it that all right, Leonard Nimoy's there. Spoilers for Star Trek. That Leonard Nimoy's there. They're fucking up that timeline, and now nothing's the same going forward. But like that was cool because again, I had a jumping on point. If I wanted to go back and look into all the all the stuff and understand more, I could, but I didn't need to enjoy that movie.
I think for me, it's just the idea that like the last two chapters of this game had me like. I don't get it, but I'm here for the ride. And the idea that Final Fantasy VII Remake 2 and 3 could be more so of, all right, I'm just here for the ride at this point. I have no idea what's going on because everything's kind of up in the air. Doesn't
and I get that.
Necessarily excite me.
And one of the things, Blessing, you and I kept talking about in the review in veiled terms, right, was that until those like mid-teens chapters, it seemed like, okay, I'm right there with you and I understand this and I get Avalanche and I get Cloud and yet ever. And then when it was, we went to Shinra and suddenly there were like 7 bad Shinra dudes and dudettes. And I was like, I don't understand. Why are we getting complicated? And like, wait a second, where is Sephiroth? I know he's the big deal, but like, he's not even here yet. And then he does show up and it is that little thing and I don't understand, but I'm still into it.
I think it's okay. I don't think you, like, I see where you're coming from, Bless, but I see it as just, this is how the game is now. Like, the first 95% of this remake, with it being like as straightforward as it was, it told a kind of coherent story. And like even though the future's up in the air, I think those games just are gonna naturally become the evolution of what the ending of this game was. Like it's just it's gonna become canon to us, and it's gonna be our version of Final Fantasy VII, even though it's clearly not Tim's and Imran's. But I think that's my hope. Yeah,
that's for sure my hope. I just feel like in terms of like, I feel like they nailed it for the most part, like 98% as far as like we're going to cater to all the audiences. We're going to make this a game for Final Fantasy VII fans while also making this a new thing that anybody can jump into. And by the end, I did have to like talk to you guys to kind of get what was going on in a way where now that it seems like that stuff is like all the Whisper stuff and all the Fate stuff seems settled. I'm sure that it'll probably make some sort of reappearance in the next few games, but for the most part, it seems like now we're at a place where we're fresh again, and their adventures aren't really going to be interrupted that much by the Whispers, as far as I understand it now.
Well, they defeated them, right? Didn't they feed them?
This is a really good moment to actually jump on. Before we do that, I want to talk about our sponsors.
He said talk about our sponsors. He cut off on my end, but that's what he said.
Yeah, me too.
This episode of Kind of Funny Gamescast is brought to you by Hims. 66% of men start to lose their hair by age 35, and once you've noticed thinning hair, it can be too late. Andy Cortez, Nick Scarpino, they both started noticing this stuff, and they're like, I better do something about it, and Hims is what they did. It's the best way to prevent more hair loss is to do something about it while you still have some. 4hims.com is a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and sexual wellness for men. It's time to write a new chapter, one in which you have hair. No snake oil pills or gas station counter supplements, prescription solutions backed by science. 4hims connects you to real doctors online, which could save you hours, completely confidential and discreet. You can just answer a few quick questions. The doctor will review, and if they determine it's right for you, they can prescribe you medication to treat hair loss that is shipped directly to your door. Right now, you guys can get started with your first month free. Go to 4hims.com/kinda. That's 4hims.com/kinda. FORHIMS.com/kinda. Prescription requires an online consultation with a physician who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Offer valid only if prescribed. 3-month minimum subscription. Additional restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Remember, that's 4hims.com/kinda. All right, so I think this is a good point to talk about. What do we think the next game is going to be? Imran.
So that's interesting because now they can just do anything. Like I assume they're gonna hit all the major beats they have to hit. Like they're gonna go to Calm, and Cloud's gonna tell his backstory to Sephiroth.
How do you spell this place, by the way?
Calm, Kalm.
Cool.
Duh.
Cool.
And then like they'll do the Midgar Zolom stuff. They'll go to Juno. They'll like go to the fort. You know, like all that, those kind of things they'll hit along the way. But I think like things can start changing. At this point, I don't think Aerith will die. I think maybe you'll have it. Like maybe it'll be an option or a branching path. But I think this just sets up for a way for them to say, no, Aerith is going to survive. And also I think they're pulling in like a Marvel style thing of a multiverse idea. Because I at this point, Cloud could just say on your left, and a bunch of clouds from like different places are going to come through a portal.
Which is what I thought, not understanding the Zack stuff. And I saw this guy, and I'm like, it's Cloud with dark hair. Are they about to do like this? The multiverse of clouds is going to come together and fight?
The fucking Kingdom Hearts Cloud comes out with way too many zippers and fucking taped up sword and shit. I feel like the sequel is going to be, I think even more than what you're saying, Imran, where I think it's going to be a greatest hits almost as a kind of, let's get this stuff out of the way and move on. I think it's going to be radically different to the point that we're in the same places. The same things aren't going to happen. And I don't think we're going to go to all the same places. And I also think we're going to go to new places. Like, I think that the Final Fantasy VII 2, whatever they end up calling the next one, like, I think it's going to be a sequel to this game. And it is not going to be a remake in any meaningful way to the original.
I think there's still some things you have to hit. Like, I think you do need to have that backstory, like that flashback section. Because at this point, we still don't really... Most new players do not know that Cloud is mistaken or has amnesia about that time. They think he was a soldier. I think you need to keep that same basic framework, and I think the third or fourth game goes really off the rails.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, I guess the way I see it is we're still going to get that framework and that story. I just don't think it's going to be in the same place, in the same way. I think the game will find a new way to, in a type of very linear storytelling fashion, like this game, the remake that we just played is, I feel like it's going to be kind of like the Midgarification of the rest of the game. Because for you guys, once you get through what we got in this game, in the original, it opens up. Yeah. It really is kind of Breath of the Wild style. You get off of that initial island, and now it's like, go. Like, you get run around the entire planet.
This is what I wanted. This is where I wanted to take the conversation of like, what was added, what was expanded, what was removed. Like, that's all shit I'm super interested in.
So, Imran, was anything removed? Let's start there, because I don't think so.
There's a couple of scenes, like Honeybee Inn we talked about was like a gay panic scene before, and
Mm-hmm.
they changed that up to like be just a kind of gender as a construct, be who you want to be kind of thing, which is
That's
much more
great.
aggressive. They in the original Red 13, so there was a couple of things in the Shinra building that were just dumb, like you had to solve the mayor's puzzle, you had to find a couple of books and then take the first letter from every book, and it would spell out like a random password, but it was usually like mayor is best. So they changed that to this like puzzle thing now. They in the original Red 13, or Hojo was trying to mate Red 13 and Aerith, as like how he made this as a thing like, oh, we want to have her have some children.
Yeah, I remember that.
This one they just kind of say like it'll be a human kid, obviously. But in the original, he was trying to put Aerith and Red 13 into the same thing, and then Red 13 was faking like to throw Hojo off that he was into it.
Look at Blessing's face.
That was his line. He was like, "Sorry, I was just trying to throw
Scandalous.
Hojo off." So that was changed.
Sure, he was trying to throw Hojo off.
There was a section in the Shinra building where you get captured, that and then get thrown in prison in Hojo's lab. And when you emerge from that, there's blood all over the floor and everyone is dead. And that's when you find out Sephiroth is like in the building. So they changed that up, and I think that was the one change I think I didn't like. But the rest, I don't think there's any other big removals that I can remember.
Greg Miller.
My question as an outsider was, how long would this Midgar section and getting off the plateau have taken in the first Final Fantasy?
6 hours.
Yeah, 5-6 hours.
Okay. Because that makes, I remember when this got announced, right, and it was like, oh, it's going to be episodic, and people were like, we've only seen Midgar, so that's going to be short, and that's when there was all these confusion and weird takes on it.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
I mean, go ahead.
I saw somebody in our comments that said, like, just there's a lot of negative Nancy's, obviously, but one guy was like, man, this review for this game is longer than the actual game or whatever. Like, because there was rumors floating out there that this remake was going to be about 10 hours or something like that. And just to reiterate, like, the game is close to 40. It's around 30 to 40, depending on what you do,
I'm currently at 75.
That's insane. Question for the three new guys here. Like, do you feel like there was significant padding?
No,
Like padding on the story?
Yeah.
No. I mean, even like the side quest stuff, right, when they pop up, it's done not awkwardly, but differently than most games that try to blend side quests in quietly, you know what I mean? Whereas this is like you go to the page, like, here are all the side quests, and like you have to find them.
Yeah.
Like, even that
And
didn't feel like
even if
padding.
they did away with the side quests,
Oh, sorry, what was
like
that?
even if they did away with the side quests, I think it'd be fine.
Yeah, I didn't find a lot of them to be meaningful. There's a couple of moments towards the end, I feel, with some of the vehicular combat where new elements just kept getting introduced, and I'd be like, okay, all right, when are we? Okay, there's more of this shit, more of this shit, more of this shit. But I mean, nothing super, over the top in terms of padding, though. I didn't really feel at any point like, are you fucking kidding me? I think like there were some moments of, okay, I could do without this right here.
Yeah.
But for the
I
most
guess
part,
that
it was fun.
to me, that's something that's so impressive because they did take a 5-6 hour experience and turn it into a 35-40 hour experience. And it's not like they slowed it down. If anything, I think this game moves quicker than the original did in terms of getting through its story beats. A lot of it has to do with the random encounters the original game had. This one's much more scripted and when you're facing off against enemies. But the new stuff they added. So now that we talked about the emissions, like Imran, like what were some of your favorite things that they added to this? Because to me, Jesse's family stuff was awesome. That's not in the game at all.
It makes sense why you as a player and why Cloud cares about them after that point. Because you can even tell by the end of the quest, he's having fun with them, and he's not used to that fact. That is one of the better ones, I think. In terms of additions,
Wait, having fun? What?
he was having fun with Avalanche as a he's going in there and causing problems.
Okay,
it's part of Jesse's plan. Because clearly he's in it for the money originally, but now he's like, okay, yeah, this is a group that I'm kind of enjoying being a part of.
Yeah,
Like
there's
most
a great.
of that, go for it, Andy.
I was going to say there's that great moment towards the end where they're like, we could use you, Cloud, to rebuild the bar or whatever. He's like, as
The
long as I
price is
get
right.
paid.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
and
the
they all
price is
laugh,
right,
and I was
yeah,
like,
and they all
fuck.
And then like Cloud smiles. It's like, I love this, man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
so
it's
good,
well
dude.
done.
That
It's
entire
so
chapter essentially was, and the earning comes from this chapter new. Like we didn't get any of the super anime-esque fucking motorcycle guy, the boss fight.
Oh my god. What a great fight. What a great... I loved all the motorcycle combat. We didn't talk about that in the review. It's fucking best road rash there's been in years.
That was all new, and then going to Jesse's house. And I feel like all of that, as close as it was in the pacing of how we played the game, that to me was like, wow, this is fucking good. Like, this is a new take on this, that like, this feels like a new game to me. I have not experienced this before, and I'm still enjoying it. And it's like up to the quality of that stuff.
After my replay of it, I actually ended up really appreciating the lab a lot more. So like, that's a completely new addition. The lab underneath Sector 7 was not in the original game. At the first time I went through it, I was like, this feels like filler. This feels like they were just delaying time. But then I played through the game and I was like, oh wait, Sector 7 has a lot of really weird enemies that don't make any sense through the entire game. Like, it even commented on it like, yeah, where's this weird dog from? It's like, oh, it just showed up today and started hurting people. And then it makes sense. Oh, there's a lab underneath the city, and that's where it's all from. And that's why it makes sense they need to go after Aerith, because in the original game, it was she made the choice to actually go there. Why Cloud and Barrett and all them pursued is like, because that's video games, that's what you do.
Yeah.
But in this one, it made total sense of, oh, they pursued her because they know Hojo does fucked up things.
Yeah.
So now they have proof of it, and they're going to actually go get her.
Yeah, I thought the Aerith and mom stuff was really good too. Like that was kind of in the original game, but I feel like they expanded it so much in this, where it gave backstory in a way that I'm like, it backs up kind of what you were saying, Imran, of like, we need to fucking save her. And I liked how the mom was kind of like, Cloud, you need to leave now. Like, you need to not be a part of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like leave.
Her mom
and
sucks.
like, you feel that as a fucking character, where you're just like, oh man, like fuck. And I love the Cloud said fuck that shit, and they all went back. But then the mom totally like gives the story and stuff, and it's like, you say she sucks, Greg. Like, do you think that she sucks just like you don't like her decisions?
I didn't like how short she was to Cloud. I understand why, and I forgave her for it. But then when she was short to Barrett, that's when I was like, you get the fuck out of here, lady. Because when he runs in that house and he's like looking for his daughter, and it turns out Marlene is there, and he's like, Marlene. She's like, she's sleeping. I'm like, motherfucker, I got a gun, and she's my daughter, and I thought she was dead, so I'm gonna wake her up. She can go back to bed.
Yeah, but if like a 300-pound guy like comes into your house and starts screaming at you, where the hell is she? You'd probably a little bit garbage.
But then just like once it's all clarified that I'm the father, and I go upstairs, like, she's sleeping. Like, fuck you, I'm waking her up. She's getting woken up right now.
Well, also they just took Aerith away for her. So
another I mean, kind of like mirroring on this moments before this, where Barrett is like spilling his soul and crying and sad that all of his friends are dying, especially his daughter. And it's so sad. And Cloud takes 2 weeks to be like, hey, she's alive, man. Aerith got her. Like, why did he take, like, obviously we need an emotional moment, but he took so long to tell her that she's safe.
He also didn't know.
Yeah, he didn't know, right?
Keeps asking him, like, are you sure she's there? He's like, she might be. I think she could be.
We sent Aerith for her, but we're not sure if that actually worked out.
I understand that he wasn't 1,000% confident that she was safe.
Yeah.
But why did he take so long to be like, hey, I sent Aerith to go get her. Like, hopefully she's safe. Like,
they do have an exchange about it where Barrett says, just tell me she's okay. And Cloud says, I can't. And like Barrett says, I won't do anything. I won't be mad.
Yeah, he says it. Yeah.
Actually, I probably would kill you.
Usually, who am I kidding? I'd probably beat your ass or whatever. Yeah.
It's so great. Like, that's so well done. Of like, usually we have these conversations and it is like, I don't know, I guess you leave it up to, like, they actually explained that, right? They actually talked about that. The question I have that I need explanation on, and it's a change, is that I adored Hell House coming out and fighting me at the end of the Coliseum. I thought that was some of the funniest shit. When he sucked me in the first time through the front door, I was laughing, and Jen's like, what? I'm like, I'm fighting a house, and it just sucked me in, and it's like, eventually that came up when we were talking about the game, and you guys said Hell House is old and a reference, but not the same. Like, what is Hell House's story? What was Hell House?
It was just a random enemy that you found in the collapsed highway.
Okay.
That was it. It was just a funny enemy that like people have, I guess, memed a little bit over the years because like, hey, it's a giant walking house that's hilarious.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, Greg. I was pissed off in that fucking fight.
Get good, huh?
Can I tell you,
hard, dude.
That hard mode fight, they add so many things that it's like, it took me a good 4 or 5 tries.
I was so mad.
He just spits out
I love that
commentaries.
fight.
Yeah.
The whole getting sucked in part get towards the end. I can't fucking avoid this move, dude. Like, I was like yelling at my TV, and the worst part is it takes 30 minutes or some bullshit, and then I died at the very, very end. I was like, I have to redo all this fucking bullshit.
Yeah, the boss fights are all very, very long. That's probably my biggest complaint about them is that they are extremely long. So if you do die at the end, there's a lot to get back through. Usually I did it a bit faster the second time, but it's still a significant time investment.
Rough.
Yeah, Hell House was, I think, the most difficult boss for me
Wow,
playing
really?
through the game. Yeah, where it's just like it took forever for me, and I beat it. It took my second try, but it definitely was like a fuck. This is hard. I felt like I never clicked with like what's the strategy that I'm supposed to be doing here to not get sucked in and to not deal
I
with
only
it.
figured out hard mode. Is it like he can't suck you in if you're on the side or behind him?
Oh, okay. That boss fight was really challenging, as well as for me, as well as the unknown species giant boss guy.
The one Tifa Barrett fight?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. It can be tough.
That was a very similar situation to Hell House, where I died in the last minute of the fight just by like a dumb fucking move. It was my fault. Like I just didn't see this one move coming, and both Tifa and Barrett were stunned, and then he dropped down, boom, and they died, and I like about threw my controller on the fucking ground. I was like, God, this fight's been going on for so long, and I have to redo all of it.
Yeah, that sucks. The Hell House to me was such a fucking fun moment where the whole Coliseum stuff, like I loved the presentation of it. I loved the commentators and just like the way they built it into the story. I felt it moved quickly and also reintroduced the victory theme and the fun music that plays
and
after.
the poses are all the same.
The poses were the same, spinning the sword and all that, and like the Tifa stretching and stuff. Like that's such great like fan service stuff. But for it to end with Hell House, like they were building it up, and I totally expected it to be Bahamut or some like a summon, something that's like, oh, familiar, cool, I get where this is going. When that fucking house came out, I was just like, they get it, man. Like this is so fucking cool and hilarious. And it to the credit of this game, they give context to the weird, wacky shit. Why is there monsters? We know why. Why is there car enemies? We know why. Why is the fucking house a boss? It makes sense in this fucking world. I love that stuff.
You mentioned the commentary, and the commentary is like there's surprising amount. I've done that boss fight so many times. They have commentary for if you get sucked in, if you get sucked in and survive, if you get sucked in and die. There's 3 different lines they have for that sort of thing. So they can like every time Aerith uses their limit, they have like not only different dialogue for it, but different reads of the same dialogue. It's awesome. Ridiculous how much stuff there is.
Can we talk about that ghost chapter?
Yeah.
That's one that where like if we talk about padding, right? Like that's the one chapter where I was like, this doesn't really fit into anything, but I still love this chapter. Like it was probably one of my favorite chapters of the game.
Creepy ass kids writing shit on the wall.
That's also another Final Fantasy X connection.
Wait, really?
As you like crawl through the trains, you see like the spirits going around, and they look like the spirits from Final Fantasy X. And then that explains why they're there and why they're like people taking the forms. It's not a like hard connection, but it's one of those.
I love it.
Looked at it, it's like.
I want 7 and 10 to connect so bad. I love everything about dude. There was about maybe a third through this game where I was just like, one day we might get 10 in this style. I fucking would die, dude. But yeah, bless this ghost chapter. It was weird, and like it's another one of those things where it was in the original game. Like
it was 2 screens in the original game.
This could have been cut for sure, and they did it. They committed to having it, and it's like I know that just remaking Midgar kind of like. If they were to admit things, people would fucking lose their minds. But this was a more bizarre thing even in the original game. But they stuck to it, and I feel really ramped up the bizarreness of it all.
So like the ghost graveyard in the original game was mostly notable because there's one screen in which you can fight Eligor, who ended up being the boss in the remake. But Eligor is important because you steal Aerith, like one of her best weapons from him. So the fact that they just they realized he was infamous because people would run around that screen for 15, 20 minutes, half an hour to try and just spawn him, and they're like, no, just fuck it, just make him a boss, and just it'll say on the assess screen like absolutely like steal his thing, make sure you come with steal materia, steal his item because he has Aerith's weapon like there. That's it shows to me that they not only know Final Fantasy VII, they know how people react to Final Fantasy VII.
It's cool shit, man.
I love that chapter. what was up with the people with the numbers on their like tattooed on their arms?
So basically, a lot of those people are like they're Sephiroth clones. What's the word I want to use? Fanboys, I guess. Like people who have been infected. People have been infected by Genova, basically, and they are trying to do certain things to bring about.
The reunion.
Reunion, yes.
Such a cool name, Genova.
Do you? Okay, so you guys haven't played Final Fantasy VII. Are you familiar with the line "This guy are sick"?
No.
Okay, that is one of the more infamous localization things, and you see that guy in chapter 7 or 8, and it kind of disappointed me they didn't actually use the line at all.
That would have been great.
As like a little nod to it or whatever.
Yeah. But
All
yeah,
your
Cloud,
base
like,
are belong to us.
basically, like it's people who have kind of Mako sickness, plus Genova is controlling them, which kind of connects to Cloud as well because he's in a similar boat.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's weird shit. Like Advent Children, I recently rewatched it, and I still don't fully understand it, Imran. It's a weird fucking movie, man.
It is.
But like that kind of also deals with a lot of the weird Genova things and bringing Sephiroth back. So that's kind of like a theory I'm seeing on the internet a lot of. The Sephiroth we see in this game at the end is a Sephiroth from Advent Children.
I don't know. It's not clear. I assume it's a Sephiroth from the future, but to what extent, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of connecting things, so like one of the parts of the lore of Final Fantasy VII is that Genova, that thing you saw in Hojo's lab, crashed down to Earth in ancient times and created a crater. If you read the description, the assessment description for Shiva, it talks about how in ancient lore she once healed the Earth from dying by creating a polar like ice cap over like a crater. Basically, they're saying in the lore that Shiva healed the fact that when Genova crashed, she was going to destroy the Earth, and Shiva ended up healing that. So when you do end up going there in 5.7, the original game, why it's all covered in ice is totally
over.
explained. Yeah.
Holy shit, that's fucking cool as hell.
How do you spell Shiva's name?
Shiva.
Yeah, but she's also like a Hindu goddess, so like it might be hard to Google for that.
Dude, whoa, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. And like, I love reading all the assessment stuff just to get like those extra little bits of lore.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. I love it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have any? Was there anything questioning as you were playing through it?
I mean, I feel like any questions I had, I just sort of attributed to weird anime Japanese game shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really... There was nothing really that had me questioning stuff until the very, very end. Yeah, I feel like everything was pretty straightforward, though, for a good majority of it.
Yeah, like my main question was like the Genova tattoo guys, but I think that's more so of a thing that I'll learn more.
It will get explained.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's something that's probably going to get explained in the next few games.
Yeah,
a bit more.
Yeah, Genova's always been a weird thing to me. Where I've never loved her design. Like
she's just a weird headless lady with like they removed the eyes from the boobs, which is the weirdest part of her design before.
Wait, they did what to her? What?
So the original design was like she's just a torso of a woman, and like on her like left breast she just had a big eye, like a Resident Evil monster.
Yeah, I will say I liked this design best of any time we've ever seen her.
But yeah, with the skull and all that, it was really cool actually. Like that boss fight caught me off guard because that didn't happen originally.
Yeah.
And oh shit!
And the
finally.
music, oh my god, the fucking Genova music is so iconic and so good. And when it plays in this, it's just pure hype. Where you're just like, and that's true for all the damn music in this game. But like every single time they're playing stuff, I'm like, this is so rad. Like, how are they nailing it this hard?
That is a question I have. Is so you are fighting Genova in that
it's still an illusion.
Okay, it's an illusion, but it's not actually her.
Yes.
Like Sephiroth kind of transports you there, right? Like to this weird dream area or whatever the fuck.
One of the reunion people do that's pretending to be Sephiroth, but yes. It'll get explained. It'll be explained.
Here's my thing.
So the reunion people can pretend to be Sephiroth. Is that what's happening until you get to the portal?
So basically, Genova is controlling all of them, and Genova has powers. That's
what is Genova's motivation?
To come back alive.
Bring back reunion, or to come.
All right. Well, reunion is essentially like bringing her back.
Yeah.
Like that's what they're all trying to do.
Think about Genova as basically Lavos, and she is controlling lots of things to eventually have an agenda.
Okay.
I like the fighting system in this game.
I had a question.
System was great.
I had a question for all of you. Do you think Square Enix should have been more upfront about what this game was, or do you think it works better as a twist?
It needs to be a twist.
I think it works best as a twist. Yeah.
I'm on two sides of it because I was more so looking forward to this game as a retelling of Final Fantasy VII, as somebody who didn't play Final Fantasy VII. But I do think also for them to pull off what they're pulling off in this game, then also it does have to be a twist. So yeah, I can't really. It's the Metal Gear Solid 2 thing where like the whole Raiden twist works because they didn't tell anybody, and because the whole thing, the themes of Metal Gear Solid 2 are misinformation and all that stuff. And so like when you have that Raiden twist, I understand why people would be mad at it, but I also understand why it needed to happen that way and why that's the dopest thing about that game. And for this game, I'm like, I understand why this is the dopest thing about this game. Why the twist and why the fate and defeating fate and getting rid of the timeline is the dopest thing about this game. But at the same time, I'm like, man, I don't fault anybody who comes into this game and comes out of it a bit thrown off or disappointed.
I feel like I'm a fanboy on the side of loving the end of this, and like this is kind of like best case scenario for me. Like I think this is great, and I know that a lot of people are going to disagree, but my kind of argument to that is then I feel like after you play this game and you get to the end of it, if you want to know what originally happened, that's what the original game is for. Like I feel like the conversation now is going to be so much more interesting the next couple years of talking about what this game can be. Every time we get a piece of new media and stuff, we're going to have people that have never played the originals before at all and are just watching the trailers like intrigued at it being a sequel. Then there's going to be the people that know it all that are watching it like, oh my God, they're changing this, they're not changing that, what's this mean, all that stuff. That's such a more interesting conversation than what would have just been, when's the second game going to end?
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like to me it's like this is a perfect time where there's so many people that are fucking hyped up on Mountain Dew right now about Final Fantasy VII, where it's like, sure, you might not have ever played the original before, but you got 2 years now, 3 years, 4 years, whatever the fuck it is.
Should I play the original Final Fantasy VII?
I mean,
because every time I ask, people say no.
If you play it on
I should.
I think things have changed now.
Blessing's only asking me though.
Like it's easier to play these days because of like the in-game cheat functions on like Switch and all that. Like you can just make it so I don't lose any HP, or I always do heavy damage. And if you just want to see the story, it's not going to be a huge time investment.
And I do think that like it's brilliant marketing on Square's part for that. Like Final Fantasy VII Original is going to sell a shit ton of new copies. More than it already has because of this. And I think that is kind of best case scenario for fans of all this stuff. Where like I think, and again, this is something where like my fanboy is showing, where it's like the first part of Final Fantasy VII is my favorite part of Final Fantasy VII. So to me, this is best case scenario where I think that what happens afterwards, there's a lot of really great stuff. There's also a lot more fillery type stuff and a lot more old school JRPG like weirdness that I didn't ever absolutely vibe with, that I think that we might now get a Final Fantasy VII Part 2, second part of this game, whatever it is, that I actually enjoy more than the original. Because I enjoy this more than the original already.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like I assume they're gonna keep basic things like the huge materia quests and like the tiny Bronco and Golden Saucer is a must. Like if that's not in the next game, I will be shocked.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun as hell too. But yeah, Bless, like I think that it's kind of on you of like how itching are you to find out more about this world and know the answer to this stuff, because like I don't think that there's that much expanded lore you need to look into to be as caught up as we are. Like I really feel like it's playing through Final Fantasy VII, even if you do the cheat codes and speed through it and speed up the random encounters and all that stuff, and then watch a video that's the end of Crisis Core, and then you're caught up.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. We'll see. Before this game came out, I was of the mind that I'm gonna not play Final Fantasy VII because I don't want to spoil this game. But it seems like that's not really a case anymore, and so I might jump into it. We'll see.
Like even earlier when Tim is like, "All right, spoilers for the whole game of Final Fantasy VII," I'm like, "Oh shit! Well, I don't really know if I want to know this, but it seems like a lot of people changing, so that's cool as hell."
Yeah, no, it's cool stuff, man. Any closing thoughts here, guys?
I am more excited about the second game now than I would have been if it were just a straight remake.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Somebody who doesn't know anything about it, like I'm totally stoked for the next one, and I think
as someone who's been zoning out for the last 2 hours, I've
enjoyed listening. It's just Googling what the fuck anybody's talking about.
Me too.
Yeah, I know. I saw you doing it too, looking over like, what? How do I spell calm?
I never unlocked Shiva. Like, guys, I don't even know what the fuck that is, man.
100%. I'm right there with you, Andy.
That's man, you guys should go back and do fucking Shiva. Like that Shiva's the first summon you get from doing the battle intel stuff with Chadley. So like when you talk to Chadley, he like assigns you like assess this many people.
Sucks,
His name sucks. He sucks. Whatever.
Yeah.
But like
Chadley.
assess this many people or stagger this many different types of enemies or whatever. You've done it naturally just playing the game. So if you go back and just talk to him, it should just like unlock a bunch of stuff. And once you do a couple of them, he'll be like, "Oh, I did a new VR thing," and like you can do these optional challenges where you face off against summons. And I think they're some of the best fights in the game.
Yeah.
Shiva's is hype as fuck, and you face off against it. It's really, really, really cool.
Do you ever talk to Chadley when you have the dress on?
I did not.
He has like he kind of freaks out and has like this very like and then like I'm having an emotional response thing and just stops talking to you.
He got a boner.
He basically he's a
I like it.
You'll love to see it.
You'll love to see it.
Here's what I want to know: when do they talk about the sequel?
I would bet under normal circumstances they would probably like make a reveal by the end of this year. It's harder to say now because like who knows if it's currently in active development or what active development really means, but I bet their initial plans are probably to have a sequel ready by end of 2021, early 2022.
End of 2021? Oh my god, that'd be fucking cool.
Well, who knows at this point? Like I don't know when video games are gonna start coming out.
Yeah,
again.
exactly.
Like it's just so obvious that this game took so goddamn long to make, not just because but not just because of like mismanagement, you know. I think that's where we always sort of lean to like all right, sure, it's coming out this day, but like when you look at when you play the actual game, it's like, oh yeah, I get it. Like I totally understand why, you know.
I can reasonably believe they spent like 2 years just polishing that game, like at least a year.
Yeah.
The funniest thing about it is like thinking back to, okay, this game was revealed in 2015, and it like Imran, if you rewatch that original trailer, like I'll never forget when they were first showing it, like fans knew it's Final Fantasy VII. Like there was, you see the park, you see the little like playground thing. It's like, you fucking know. But they shot that entire trailer, or not shot, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They made that entire trailer it was long. It was like 3 minutes long. And they built it so that people weren't supposed to be sure it was Final Fantasy VII. And even more than that, not supposed to be sure it was a remake until the final shot where you see Barrett and Cloud walking and it says remake to spell it out for everybody. And it's like, even back then, it was like, what are they doing with this? Because they're definitely changing stuff. And I think that now beating this game, I rewatched the trailer after, it contextually makes a lot more sense for what they were straight up telling us what this game's going to be a long time ago.
Like they dropped a little
that's
hint,
cool
like,
as hell.
A year ago, they made that trailer that showed the first whisper, and everyone was like, what the hell is that? What are they doing? And I made some sort of joke on Twitter that was like, what if they make it so the whispers are changing everything and this is a different game entirely? And
Here we are.
It turned out to be completely right, but sure.
Yeah, man, that's just fucking crazy. But remember, so that trailer happened, and then there was like very little heard about it until a couple months later at PSX, and they showed another trailer that had gameplay, and it was just like, what the fuck? Like this game is real and it's actually happening. But then everything went to hell, and it's like, okay, it's episodic. CyberConnect's working on it. Oh, we got some D teams working on this. This game's gonna be fucking shit. And it's like, how did all that happen, and then we end up here?
Yeah,
you know.
It's a Cinderella story for sure.
Fate, man.
It's fate. It's fate. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Kind of Funny Gamescast Final Fantasy VII Spoilercast. Very excited that we got to do this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoy the game. Let us know in the comments below what you think about the end. And if you are on team, this is fucking awesome. Or if you're on team, I hate this. Why would you ever do this? Either way, I appreciate you. I love you guys. Thank you very much. And until next week, keep doing your damn thing.